The Panthers played the Steelers last night to round out their preseason. The starters didn't play, which obviously takes a little bit of the sizzle out of it. But if you go back and listen to the show yesterday, one of the things I wanted to see was I wanted to see people make the team, right? I know that the Panthers there's a plan for the roster, but I also know that there's a lot of room for improvement. And if someone went out there and had a dramatically wow performance, there was literal opportunities to make the team. Some teams, the really good ones, the ones with rosters that are great top to bottom, the ones with super good front offices, there may be, 2 or 3 spots at the end of the roster for special teamers and, the last maybe off-ball linebacker to make the squad going into the third preseason game. But I really thought there are entire qualities that the Panthers are missing, and if you showed a penchant for one of those qualities, you might find yourself on the 53-man roster, right? If you are an outside linebacker or a defensive end and you got at the quarterback a couple times, I don't think they're cutting you because they desperately need pass rush. If you were a fringe defensive back on the roster bubble and you got your hands on the football, I don't think they're cutting you in the next 48 hours, 72 hours. I think they're keeping you around because they desperately need guys that can force turnovers. So who did it? Who made the team last night? I don't know if it was a making the team situation because he was a 4th-round pick, but Lathan Ransom, who Max brought up earlier, I'm forcing myself to be all in on Lathan Ransom. I think he's, the lesser of all the evils possible at that free safety spot. I don't want it to be Nick Scott. I don't want it to be Damani Richardson, even though I like Damani Richardson. I want it to be Lathan Ransom. 4th-round pick, Ohio State national champion, leader. I want him to get the growing pains out of the way early. I want to live through it. I want to see what he can become. And last night, he was the one person that felt like he was out there trying to earn a spot. 5 tackles, all solo, which is good for a safety. You're going to have to make tackles in space. You can't be a pile jumper getting all those half tackles. 5 tackles, the interception, little bit of knack for the moment. That's all I need to see. I think he earned a spot, or not on the roster, but maybe higher on the depth chart. Chris Burns forced a fumble early. Panthers didn't recover it, but a forced fumble is a forced fumble, right? The advanced analytics people will tell you once a football hits the turf, it's about 50-50, right? There's really no way. If you're recovering 80% of your footballs that hit the ground, you're just lucky. It's not really a talent. So once you get the ball on the ground, the tackler has done their job. Chris Burns forced a fumble. He's a guy with starting experience at a position where they don't have much, that off-ball backer spot. As long as he's serviceable on special teams, I'm not cutting him by the time you get to the 53-man roster. And that's about it for the defense, where I thought a lot of spots were up for grabs. Not many turnovers, not many sacks, not many quarterback hits, not a lot going on there. Offensively, I think the big story about who makes the team was before the game. Bryce Tremaine was held out with the starters. Bryce Tremaine, a journey, not even really a journeyman. He hasn't been in the league long enough, but a young wide receiver, tall, lanky guy, played at Stanford. Spent some time with Washington, meaning the Commanders. He was held out with the top guys. 33 players were inactive. He was one of them, and they cited it as general soreness, right? If he had tweaked something, that would make sense, but this was just general soreness. Wide receiver is a super competitive spot right now for the Panthers. Tremaine was never in any of the predictions I saw to be one of the ones that made the roster until he was held out of the game. And then today you see, Joe Person on The Athletic, a few others putting Tremaine in their 53-man roster.
Well, the interesting wrinkle that has been added the last, 5 hours or so is the report from Schefter that the Vikings have inquired about trading for Adam Thielen. And even if you don't know for sure that that's something that you would do, maybe they want to keep another body healthy out there in the preseason in case they are in discussions or in case they would consider making that move.
Well, here's the thing. Traditionally, 6 wide receivers is the number you keep on your 53-man roster. Sometimes you go 7 if you're a team that routinely plays like 4 or 5 wide receiver sets, or if you think you're considering trading one, or you know that you're gonna cut another, when you pick up someone off waivers, whatever it is, you might have 7 on the initial, but 6 is kind of industry standard for wide receivers. The way we had seen it was Tedero McMillan, Leggett, that's 2, Coker 3, Horn 4, Renfro 5, David Moore 6, and then Thielen 7. And if you were to trade Thielen, those were the 6. So now you're in the same – if Tremaine is one of the makes, if he's one of the shoo-ins, you're now in the same situation that you were when we thought Thielen was going to make the roster, even if you trade Thielen, where you have to choose from Renfro and Moore. That's the way I look at it, right? I'm not cutting Jimmy Horn Jr. I thought he actually Jimmy Horn Jr. and Trevor Etienne both showed enough pop in the return game that I think, in addition to what they've shown as a running back and a wide receiver, I think they're like super safe because they can help in the special teams game. Renfro suddenly is not the apple of everyone's eye that he was 2.5 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. David Moore becomes expendable because when they talk about Bryce and Tremaine, they talk quite a bit about his special teams ability, and David Moore, that was his calling card, right? He was the wide receiver that could run down on punts while other guys weren't as good at it. He could go tackle on kickoff. If Tremaine's doing that, you can't reserve 2 wide receiver spots for guys that are bringing a decent amount of their value doing things other than playing receiver. So if they trade Thielen, which I've said all week I think is a good deal, get what you can get for a 35-year-old as of today, 35-year-old depreciating asset on the last year of his contract. If you trade Thielen and you keep Tremaine, Tedero McMillan, Leggett, Coker, Horn Jr., Tremaine, and one of Renfro and Moore. Hunter Renfro said he's not thinking about making the roster after the game last night.
Man, y'all are asking some questions. To be honest, we just finished playing, so I really thought much about it. I've just been trying to get better every day. If I'm worried about whether or not I'm making a roster, then I'm not going to be any good for the season. So that's kind of how I've approached it.
Well, you're going to have to think about it for the next few days. I think if he didn't hurt his hamstring, we'd have a much clearer view on it. But he missed whatever it was, week and a half, 2 weeks with a tweaked hamstring, and that gave everybody an opportunity to maybe catch up to how he looked at the beginning of the training camp. And then lastly, this is my last point about last night, and I don't know if this is anything significant. I like Bryce Perkins. I just like him as a quarterback. He was in a tough spot. He had 2 practices. He was trying to make a play all night. A couple times, tried a little too hard. Put the ball on the ground a few times, but he was running around trying to make the play. If I like him on the practice squad. I always think of a practice squad quarterback as one of 2 things. One is all the physical gifts in the world, no idea how to play quarterback, and you put him on the practice squad and you try to, when you can, give him a crash course in quarterbacking, and hopefully you can find your diamond in the rough. That's a low percentage play, but it's a low cost play, so who cares? The other is, if both my guys get hurt, my starter and my backup get hurt, could I call this guy up and put him into a game and have a shot, right? You're not looking for a likelihood. You're not looking for Pro Bowl. Could you have a shot? I think Bryce Perkins falls into that category.
Yeah, look, former UFL MVP, and I think it's always good to have a practice squad QB who is a little shiftier like that. It kind of reminds me of one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time, John Wolford, who played at Wake Forest.
Yeah.
And 1 year, then the Rams had a game against the Ravens. It just went viral because it went out that John Wolford was playing the role of Lamar Jackson in their practices as the practice squad QB. It helps to have someone who's a little more mobile in that spot because then you're a little more prepared for, there could be some ad-libbing and some, once he gets out of that pocket, you got to be prepared to take him down, someone with speed. So it helps to have him, and it might be a little more comfortable having to throw him in if your 1 and 2 guys both get hurt. So
Walford and Perkins both co-signed by Sean McVay. Both have spent time with the Rams.
Yeah.
Which, hey, there's worse people to agree with about the quarterback position than Sean McVay. But I just think you get a shot you got something if you need to put him in. I would rather have a Bryce Perkins who's been on the practice squad for 6 weeks start a crazy, oh no, we don't have a guy game than rushing to find a Carson Wentz or like rushing to find somebody sitting on a couch and
unretiring Phillip Rivers
to
come play.
Which by the way happens every year, right? There's guys that are sitting on or trading for one of the Browns quarterbacks or something. Like I'd much rather just have Bryce Perkins step up. And I don't know if I can, and it's no disrespect to him, but I just don't know if I'd say that about a Jack Plummer or something else. Right? If Jack Plummer was the third guy on the practice squad and both got hurt, I'd be going, all right, is Teddy Bridgewater available? Like is PJ Walker, like somebody that's been doing something recently?
What's Matt Corral up to lately?
What's Matt Corral up to? Somebody that's, I don't know, been with Dave Canales somewhere, right? Was Griffin one of the backups when he was in Tampa? Like, find one of those. Or who's the guy from Florida? Kyle something. Played at Florida with
Kyle Trask.
Kyle Trask. What's Kyle Trask up to?
I think he's still backing up Baker, isn't he?
I have no idea. That's why I asked. Kyle Trask. No, they have someone else backing them. Anyway, now we're just wondering about depth charts.